The coffee pot was still warm in my hand when I heard it. Those words that would change everything. Just move the money now. She probably has 6 months at most. Maybe less if that cough gets worse. I stood frozen behind the half-closed kitchen door. The tray in my hands suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. My daughter Rebecca and her husband Marcus were in the living room. They came every Sunday for what they called family time. I called it obligation wrapped in smiles. Marcus continued talking. His voice had that smooth quality he used when closing business deals. The lawyer said everything is ready. All the accounts are linked to the trust now. We just transfer it before she notices anything missing. Tell her it went to pay for care or medication or whatever. She will not even understand the paperwork. I heard Rebecca sigh. The kind of sigh that said she was tired but agreeing. What if she asks questions though? She will not. Marcus laughed. That short, cruel laugh that made my skin crawl. Your mother barely knows what day it is anymore. Last week she asked me twice what I do for work. Twice in the same hour. That was a lie. I knew exactly what Marcus did. He sold insurance and made people believe they needed things they did not. He was good at it. Oh good. My hands started shaking. The cups rattled against each other on the tray. I set it down carefully on the kitchen counter and pressed my palm flat against the cool surface. The small burn scar on my thumb from years ago started to throb like it remembered all the pain I had ever swallowed. I was 73 years old. My husband Daniel had been dead for 5 years. This house had been ours. We bought it in 1978 with money we saved from his job at the factory and my work cleaning offices at night. Every floorboard, every window, every door. We had chosen it together. And now my own daughter wanted to take it all. I picked up the tray again. My hands were steady now. Steady with something cold and sharp that felt like anger but tasted like grief. I walked into the living room. They both looked up. Rebecca smiled that tight smile she always gave me. The one that did not reach her eyes. Marcus barely glanced away from his phone. Coffee is ready, I said. My voice sounded normal. I was proud of that. Thanks, Mom. Rebecca reached for a cup. You feeling okay today? You look a little pale. I'm fine, dear. It is fine. Marcus finally looked at me. You should really think about that home care service we mentioned. The one with the nurses who come daily. It would be good for you. Give you some help around here. I do not need help, I said. I manage perfectly well. He exchanged a look with Rebecca. That look. The one that said they knew better than me. The one that said I was old and confused and could not possibly understand my own life. We just worry about you, Mom. Rebecca reached out and patted my hand like I was a child. This house is so big. The stairs are steep. What if something happens and no one is here? Then something happens, I said simply. I have lived 73 years. I think I can manage a staircase. They drank their coffee. Made small talk about the weather and Rebecca's book club and Marcus's new car. I sat across from them and watched. Really watched. I saw how Marcus's eyes moved around the room. Not looking at the photos on the wall of Rebecca as a baby or our wedding picture or the painting Daniel and I bought on our anniversary trip to Savannah. Well, he was looking at the furniture. The antique clock. The Persian rug. Calculating. Always calculating. Rebecca checked her phone. We should probably get going. Marcus has a client dinner tonight. Course, I said. Do not let me keep you. They left without finishing the cookies I baked. When the door closed, I stood in the hallway for a long time. Just breathing. Just existing in this house that was mine. That I had paid for. That I had filled with life and love and years of work. Then I went to my bedroom. The closet in the back had a small safe Daniel installed years ago. Inside was everything important. Our marriage certificate. His death certificate. The deed to the house. My will. And a folder of papers Rebecca brought me 4 months ago. She said they were just updates. Tax things. Nothing major. Just sign here, Mom. And here. It will make everything easier when the time comes. I trusted her. Sign. Now I pulled out those papers and read them. Really read them. Every word. Every line. Every paragraph that I had been too tired or too trusting or too stupid to read before. It was all there. My house transferred to a family trust. My bank accounts linked to the same trust. Rebecca and Marcus listed as trustees. Clause about medical decisions. Another about end-of-life care. Words like incapacity and cognitive decline and necessary interventions. They had been planning this. Not for weeks, for months, maybe longer. I sat on the edge of my bed with those papers in my lap and felt something break inside me. Not my heart. That had broken when Daniel died. This was something else. Some last piece of innocence. Some final belief that family meant safety. The girl I raised. The baby I fed and rocked and sang to sleep. The child I worked 2 jobs to put through college. She was stealing from me. And she thought I was too old and too sick and too stupid to notice. I did not sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling and listening to the house settle around me. Every creak and groan felt like a conversation. Like the house was asking me what I was going to do. By morning I knew. I got dressed in my good navy pants and the cream blouse Daniel always said made me look elegant. I put on my pearl earrings. The real ones. Not the fake ones I wore to the grocery store. I brushed my hair until it shined and looked at myself in the mirror. I did not look like someone who was dying. I looked like someone who was just getting started. The bank opened at 9. I was there at 8:55. The same bank I had used for 45 years. The same bank where I deposited every paycheck and took out the mortgage for this house and set up the savings account for Rebecca's college fund. A young man named David greeted me at the front desk. He had kind eyes and a tie that was slightly crooked. "Good morning, ma'am. How can I help you today?" "I need to speak to someone about my accounts," I said. "Someone who understands trusts and transfers and how to stop them." His eyebrows went up. "Course. Let me see who is available." 10 minutes later I was sitting in a glass office across from a woman named Patricia. She had gray hair like mine and reading glasses on a chain around her neck. She looked like someone who had seen it all and would not be shocked by anything. I laid the papers on her desk. "I need to know what these mean and what has been done with my money." Patricia read slowly. Her expression did not change, but I saw her jaw tighten. "When did you sign these, Mrs. Harrison?" 4 months ago. My daughter brought them. She said they were just routine paperwork." Patricia looked at me over her glasses. "Did you read them before signing?" I started to say yes, then stop. "Well." I trusted her. Patricia nodded. Not judging. Just understanding. "Let me pull up your accounts." She typed on her computer. Clicked through screens. Her frown deepened. "Mrs. Harrison. There was a transfer request submitted last Tuesday. It would have moved 80% of your savings into a separate account managed by the trust. Has not been processed yet. Needs final approval." "How much money?" I asked. He told me. It was everything Daniel and I had saved. Everything I had left after his medical bills and funeral costs and 5 years of living alone. My entire safety net. My entire future. All of it ready to be moved into Marcus and Rebecca's control. "Cancel it," I said. My voice did not shake. "Mrs. Harrison, that requires certain steps. I need to verify your identity and your capacity to make financial decisions. This is a significant request. Understand. Do what you need to do. But cancel it today." Patricia made phone calls. Brought in another manager. They asked me questions. "What is today's date? Who is the president? Can you explain why you want to stop this transfer?" I answered everything. Clearly. Only. With a kind of clarity that comes from pure rage wrapped in dignity. 2 hours later it was done. The transfer was cancelled. The trust was frozen. No one could touch my money without my direct approval and a notarized signature. Patricia walked me to the door. "Mrs. Harrison. Have to ask. Do you have a lawyer?" "I do now," I said. The next day I went to see Margaret Chen. She had handled Daniel's estate when he died. She was sharp and efficient and did not waste time on sympathy when action was needed. I showed her everything. Papers. The bank statements. The frozen transfer request. Margaret read in silence. When she looked up her eyes were hard. "This is elder financial abuse. It is illegal." It is also very common. Can we stop it permanently? We can do better than that. We can dismantle it completely. Took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of paperwork and notaries and phone calls and meetings. Margaret drafted new documents. A revocation of the trust. A new will with very specific instructions. New powers of attorney that did not include Rebecca or Marcus. New bank accounts that only I could access. And then a letter. A formal legal letter sent to both Rebecca and Marcus informing them that all previous authorizations were revoked. That any attempt to access my finances would be considered theft. That I was of sound mind and body and fully capable of managing my own affairs. The letter was delivered on a Thursday. By Friday morning my phone was ringing. I did not answer. I let it ring and ring and ring until it went to voicemail. Then I listened. Mom, what is going on? Rebecca's voice was high and tight. We got this crazy letter from some lawyer. Something about you revoking the trust. Did someone put you up to this? Are you confused? Please call me back. We need to talk about this. Delete. Next message. Marcus. His voice was colder. Maven. We need to discuss this situation immediately. I think there has been a serious misunderstanding. The trust was set up for your protection. For your benefit. I don't know what you think you heard or what someone has told you, but this is a mistake. Call Rebecca. Let us fix this. Delete. Matey. Sat on my back porch. Watched the birds at the feeder Daniel built years ago. It was spring and everything was blooming. The azaleas were bright pink. The dogwood tree was covered in white flowers. The world was very beautiful and very quiet. They came to my house that evening. Did not call first. Just showed up. Knocked hard on the front door like they had a right to demand entry. I looked through the peephole. Rebecca had been crying. Her makeup was smudged. Marcus looked angry. His jaw was tight and his shoulders were rigid. I opened the door but did not invite them in. Hello. Mom, what is happening? Rebecca pushed forward. Why are you doing this? We were just trying to help you. Help me, I said. Is that what you call it? Marcus stepped up. Maven. Let us come inside. Let us talk about this like adults. I am an adult, Marcus. I have been one longer than you have been alive. And we can talk right here. This is insane, Rebecca said. You are acting crazy. Did that lawyer manipulate you? Did someone tell you lies about us? I heard you, I said quietly. Both of you. 3 weeks ago. Sunday morning. You were in my living room talking about moving my money. About how I probably only had 6 months to live. About how I would not notice or understand the paperwork. Rebecca went pale. Marcus did not move. I was bringing you coffee, I continued. I heard every word. No. No one manipulated me. No one lied to me. I simply woke up. The silence was thick and ugly. Mom, I can explain, Rebecca started. No, I said. Cannot. 'Cause there is no explanation that makes it right. You were stealing from me. Both of you. You tricked me into signing papers I did not understand. You were waiting for me to die so you could take everything Daniel and I worked for. Rebecca started crying. Real tears now. Not the fake ones she used to get out of trouble as a child. We needed the money. Marcus has debts. The business is struggling. We were going to pay you back. When I asked. When I was dead. She flinched. Marcus tried a different approach. His voice went soft. Reasonable. Maven. You have to understand. We were thinking long-term. Estate planning. Tax efficiency. It was not personal. It was my life, I said. My money. My house. My choice. And you took that choice away from me because you decided I was too old to matter. That is not true, Rebecca said. Then why did you do it behind my back? Why did you lie? Why did you trick me instead of asking? Neither of them answered. I want you to leave now, I said. Both of you. And do not come back unless I invite you. Mom, please. Rebecca reached for me. I stepped back. Leave. Marcus grabbed Rebecca's arm. Come on. She is not going to listen. I watched them walk to their car. Watched them drive away. Then I closed the door and locked it. Put on the chain. Turned off the porch light. Inside my house was quiet. I did not cry. I had no tears left for this. The next few weeks were strange. Quiet in a way that felt both peaceful and lonely. Rebecca tried calling twice more. I did not answer. She sent text messages. Short at first. Mom, please talk to me. Then longer. Angrier. You are being unreasonable. You are hurting the whole family over a misunderstanding. Marcus says we should just let you cool off, but I think you owe us an explanation. I blocked her number. Marcus sent an email. It was 3 pages long. Full of legal language and accusations and veiled threats about my mental state. He suggested I was being influenced by outside parties. That I was not thinking clearly. That perhaps a medical evaluation was necessary. I forwarded it to Margaret. She replied in 2 sentences. Document everything. Do not engage. But life was not all lawyers and conflict. There were good things too. Small things that felt enormous. My granddaughter Emma called. She was Rebecca's daughter, but she had always been different. Quieter. Kinder. More like Daniel than anyone else in the family. Grandma. Her voice was soft. I heard what happened. Are you okay? I am fine, sweetheart. Better than fine, actually. Mom is really upset. I imagine she is. There was a pause. Then Emma said something that made my chest tight. She told me you are being selfish. That you are choosing money over family. But Grandma, I do not think that is true. Is it? No, baby. It is not. I am choosing myself. Finally. Can I come visit you? I would love that. She came the next Saturday. Brought flowers from the farmer's market and a loaf of bread she baked herself. We sat on the porch and drank lemonade and talked about everything except Rebecca and Marcus. She told me about her new job at the library. About the book club she joined. About the boy she was seeing who made her laugh. I told her about the garden I was planning to expand. About the trip I was thinking of taking to the mountains. About how much lighter I felt now that I was not carrying the weight of other people's expectations. Before she left, she hugged me tight. I am proud of you, Grandma. I know that is a weird thing to say, but I am. You are so brave. I am just tired of being quiet, I said. After she left, I realized something. I was not lonely. I was alone. And those were 2 very different things. Marcus and Rebecca did not give up easily. They hired a lawyer of their own. Sent Margaret a letter claiming I was not competent to revoke the trust. That I was showing signs of dementia. That they had a responsibility to protect me from myself. Margaret called me. Her voice was ice. They want a competency hearing. They want a judge to evaluate your mental state. Let them, I said. I have nothing to hide. The hearing was set for 6 weeks later. In that time, Margaret had me evaluated by 2 different doctors. Both did full cognitive assessments, memory tests, problem solving, current events, medical history, everything. Both doctors wrote reports stating I was fully competent, capable, of sound mind and body. Margaret also gathered evidence. Bank statements showing I had been managing my finances perfectly for decades. Testimony from neighbors. From my primary care doctor who I had seen regularly for 20 years. From the librarian who knew I came in every week and could discuss books in detail. The day of the hearing I wore my best dress. Navy blue with pearl buttons. Daniel had loved this dress. Put on lipstick. Fixed my hair. Looked at myself in the mirror and saw a woman who refused to disappear. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Just a conference room, really. The judge was a woman about my age with silver hair and tired eyes. She looked like she had heard every story and believed none of them until proven. Marcus and Rebecca sat on one side with their lawyer. A man in an expensive suit with too much cologne. Margaret and I sat on the other side. The judge read through the case file. Looked up at me. Mrs. Harrison. Do you understand why we are here today? Yes, Your Honor. My daughter and her husband are claiming I am not mentally capable of managing my own affairs. They want control of my finances. And what do you say to that? I say they are wrong. And I say they are doing this because I discovered they were trying to steal from me. The other lawyer jumped up. Objection. That is a serious accusation. The judge held up her hand. I will hear from Mrs. Harrison. Please continue. I told the whole story. Clearly. The papers I signed without understanding. The conversation I overheard. The transfer request at the bank. The trust that gave them control of everything I owned. I did not cry. Did not raise my voice. Just stated facts. The judge looked at the medical reports. The bank statements. At the letters from my doctor and neighbors. Then she looked at Rebecca and Marcus. Do you have any evidence that Mrs. Harrison is not competent? Their lawyer fumbled. Well, Your Honor. She is 73 years old. She lives alone. There have been concerns. Concerns are not evidence, the judge said sharply. Do you have medical documentation? Professional evaluation? Anything concrete? No, Your Honor, but... Then this hearing is over. The judge closed the file. Mrs. Harrison is clearly of sound mind. She has the right to manage her own affairs and make her own decisions about her estate. The trust revocation stands. Petition denied. Just like that, it was over. Outside the courthouse, Margaret shook my hand. You did well. They cannot touch you now. I know, I said. And I felt it. Really felt it. The freedom of being believed. Of being heard. Of mattering. Rebecca caught up with me in the parking lot. Mom, please. Can we just talk? I looked at her. Really looked. At this woman who was my daughter. Who I had loved more than anything. Who I had sacrificed for and worked for and believed in. What is there to talk about, Rebecca? I made a mistake. We made a mistake. But you are my mother. You are supposed to forgive me. I am your mother, I said. Not your bank account. Not your retirement plan. Not your safety net for when your husband makes bad business decisions. She flinched. We needed help. Then you should have asked. Like an adult. Like someone who respected me. I did respect you. Well, you pitied me. You saw me as old and weak and in the way. You saw me as someone whose life was almost over, so why should I need my own money? And that, Rebecca, that is not respect. She had no answer for that. I walked to my car. Drove home. Made myself dinner. Sat on my porch as the sun went down and felt something I had not felt in years. The months that followed were the best of my life. I know that sounds strange. I was 73 years old. I had lost my daughter. But I had found myself. I joined a garden club. Met women my age who talked about roses and compost and the best time to prune hydrangeas. We became friends. Real friends. Not people who wanted something from me. Just people who enjoyed my company. I took a painting class at the community center. Had not picked up a brush since I was young. Turned out I was not very good. But I loved it anyway. The teacher was a kind man named Robert who said art was not about being good. It was about being present. I traveled. Took a bus tour to Charleston. Spent 3 days walking through gardens and eating shrimp and grits and sleeping in a hotel where someone else made the bed. It was glorious. Emma visited often. Sometimes alone. Sometimes with the boy she was dating. His name was James and he was respectful and funny and clearly adored her. They sat on my porch and held hands, and I remembered being young and in love and believing the world was full of possibilities. One day Emma asked me something. Grandma, do you miss Mom? Thought about it. Really thought. Sometimes I said. I miss the idea of her. The daughter I thought I had. But I do not miss who she actually is. Does that make sense? Emma squeezed my hand. Makes perfect sense. Do you see her? Every few weeks. She asks about you. Wants to know if you have contacted me. If you have said anything. And what do you tell her? That you are happy. That you are living your life. That maybe she should focus on her own. Emma smiled. She does not like that. I imagine not. There was a pause. Then Emma said, I am glad you stood up for yourself, Grandma. I know it was hard. But you showed me something important. What is that, baby? That it is never too late to choose yourself. I hugged her then. Held her close and smelled her shampoo and felt grateful that some things in this family had turned out right. A year passed. Then another. My health stayed good. Better than good, actually. My doctor said I seemed happier. More energized. He asked what I had changed. I got rid of some dead weight, I told him. He laughed, but I was serious. Rebecca tried reaching out a few times. Card on my birthday with a generic message. Text at Christmas. I did not respond. I had said everything I needed to say. The rest was just noise. But Marcus was different. He did not try to apologize or make amends. Instead, he tried a different approach. He started telling people I was mentally ill. That I had become paranoid and delusional. That I had cut off my whole family over imagined slights. I heard about it from a neighbor. From someone at church. From the woman at the grocery store who asked gently if everything was okay. If I needed any help. Thanked them. Told them I was fine. Better than fine. And slowly people stopped listening to Marcus. Because the evidence of my well-being was everywhere. In the garden I tended. In the book club I attended. In the art classes and the trips and the very visible life I was living. You cannot convince people someone is falling apart when they are clearly thriving. Emma got engaged. She called me crying. Happy tears. James had proposed at the botanical gardens where they had their first date. She wanted me at the wedding. Wanted me involved in planning. What about your mother? I asked. She will be there too. But Grandma, you are important to me. I want you there. I need you there. Then I will be there, I promised. The wedding planning brought us closer together. Emma and I spent Saturday afternoons looking at flowers and tasting cakes, and debating whether the invitations should be cream or ivory. It reminded me of planning my own wedding to Daniel all those years ago. The excitement, the hope, the belief that love could conquer anything. James was good to her. I could see it in the small things. How he brought her coffee without being asked. How he listened when she talked. How he looked at her like she was the most important person in any room. That was what Daniel had done for me. That was what every woman deserved. The wedding was 6 months away, but Emma asked me to help her find a dress. We went to a bridal shop downtown. One of those places with chandeliers and champagne and women who spoke in hushed tones like we were in church. Emma tried on dress after dress. Some were too fancy. Some were too plain. Some just were not right. Then she came out in a simple white gown with lace sleeves and a flowing skirt. She looked at herself in the mirror and started crying. This is it, she whispered. You look beautiful, I said. Just beautiful. She turned to me. I want you to know something, Grandma. You saved me. I did not save you, baby. You saved yourself. Whoa. She shook her head. You showed me what strength looks like. What it means to stand up for yourself even when it costs you everything. When Mom told me you were being difficult and unreasonable, I believed her at first. But then I came to see you. And you were not falling apart. You were not bitter or angry. You were just free. And I realized she was lying. She has been lying about a lot of things. We stood there in that bridal shop surrounded by white dresses and mirrors, and I held my granddaughter while she cried. Not sad tears. Healing tears. The kind that wash away years of confusion and doubt. The months leading up to the wedding were busy. Emma was finishing her degree at the university. James was working long hours at his new job. And I was helping however I could. Addressing invitations. Making centerpieces. Testing recipes for the rehearsal dinner. Felt good to be needed. Not in the old way where people expected me to sacrifice myself. But in this new way where my help was valued and appreciated. Where I could say no if I needed to and yes when I wanted to. Rebecca called Emma a few times during the planning. Asking questions. Offering suggestions that sounded more like demands. Emma handled it with grace. She included her mother in the planning, but she did not let Rebecca take over. She had learned boundaries. I was proud of her for that. Marcus tried to insert himself too. He called Emma and suggested that since he worked in insurance, maybe he could help with the wedding insurance policy. Or maybe he knew a caterer who could give them a deal. Emma politely declined. She and James had everything under control. I could tell it bothered Marcus. He was used to being needed. To being the one with all the answers and connections. But Emma did not need him. And that must have stung. The week before the wedding, Emma came to my house. She looked tired. Stressed. She sat at my kitchen table and put her head in her hands. What is wrong, sweetheart? I asked. Mom is making everything difficult. She wants to change the seating chart. She does not like the flowers we picked. She keeps saying we should have the reception at a different venue. And Marcus. She looked up at me. Marcus keeps asking about money. About how we are paying for everything. About whether we have thought about our financial future. It is like he cannot help himself. I poured her a glass of sweet tea. The kind I made with fresh mint from the garden. What do you want to do about it? I want to tell her to back off. But she is my mother. And this is my wedding. I do not want it to be a war. Then do not make it one. Be polite but firm. Thank her for her input but make it clear that you and James are making the final decisions. And as for Marcus, you do not owe him any information about your finances. Not now. Not ever. Emma nodded. You make it sound so easy. It is not easy. But it is simple. You have to decide what you will tolerate and what you will not. And then you have to stick to it. She smiled. That is exactly what you did. Is it not? Yes, baby. That is exactly what I did. The day before the wedding there was a rehearsal dinner. It was held at a small restaurant Emma and James loved. About 30 people. Close family and friends. I wore a lavender dress and the pearl necklace Daniel gave me on our 20th anniversary. Rebecca was there with Marcus. They sat at the opposite end of the table from me. We nodded at each other but did not speak. It was awkward but bearable. Like two strangers at a bus stop acknowledging each other's existence without engaging. During dinner Marcus made a toast. He stood up with his wine glass and talked about family and love and commitment. His words were smooth and practiced. But they rang hollow. At least to me. Because I knew what was underneath. The calculation. The constant measuring of value and worth. Then Emma asked me to say something. I had not prepared anything. Had not expected to speak. But I stood up and looked at her and James sitting together. Their hands linked on the table. Their faces glowing with happiness. I do not have fancy words, I said. I just want to say that love is not about grand gestures or perfect moments. It is about choosing each other every single day. Even when it is hard. Especially when it is hard. James, I see the way you look at each other. I see the respect and kindness. That is what matters. That is what lasts. Hold on to that. People clap. Emma was crying again. Happy tears. She came over and hugged me tight. Thank you, Grandma, she whispered. The wedding day was perfect. Clear blue sky. Warm sun. A gentle breeze that made the flowers dance. The ceremony was held in a garden pavilion with white chairs and an arch covered in roses. Emma walked down the aisle on her father's arm. He was Rebecca's ex-husband. A good man who had divorced her years ago for reasons I now understood better. I sat in the front row. Watched Emma say her vows. Watched her promise to love and honor and cherish. Watched her become a wife. And I felt something swell in my chest. Not sadness. Not loss. But pride. Pure uncomplicated pride. Rebecca sat across the aisle. She was watching too. And for just a moment our eyes met. I saw something in her face. Regret maybe. Or recognition. The understanding that she had chosen wrong. That she had traded relationship for money and ended up with neither. I looked away first. Not out of anger. But because there was nothing left to say. The reception was beautiful. Dinner and dancing and speeches. James's father told funny stories. Emma's maid of honor cried through her entire speech. And then Emma asked me to dance. We swayed together to a slow song. She rested her head on my shoulder like she used to when she was small. Thank you for being here, she said. For everything. I would not be anywhere else. You know what is funny, Grandma? Mom keeps saying you abandoned the family. That you chose money over love. But you are here. You helped me plan this wedding. You have been there for every important moment. And she paused. She has been there too, but only physically. Her heart has not been in it. Not really. She is still angry. Still bitter. And I do not know if she will ever let it go. Some people cannot, I said. Some people hold on to their resentments like life rafts. They think if they let go they will drown. But really the resentment is what is drowning them. Emma pulled back and looked at me. When did you get so wise? Smiled. About 73 years ago. I just finally started listening to myself. After the wedding, Emma and James went on their honeymoon. 2 weeks in Italy. They sent me postcards. Pictures of old buildings and beautiful food and themselves looking happy and exhausted from walking everywhere. I kept those postcards in a box on my kitchen counter. Looked at them every morning with my coffee. They reminded me that good things still happened. That love was still possible. That not everything was broken. Marcus and Rebecca divorced 6 months after the wedding. I heard about it through Emma. Apparently Marcus's business had failed completely. The debts he mentioned were worse than anyone knew. He had been gambling, taking loans from dangerous people. And when Rebecca found out, she left him. She called Emma crying, asking for money, asking for help. Emma said no. Not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. She and James were just starting their life together. They could not take on Rebecca's problems. Rebecca asked Emma if I would help. If maybe I would loan her some money to get back on her feet. Emma asked me. She did not push. Just relayed the message. No, I said. I will not. Emma nodded. I told her you would say that. Does that make me a bad person? No, Grandma. Makes you smart. Mom made her choices. She has to live with them. Rebecca moved to Florida. Got a job at a real estate office. Sent Emma her new address. But she did not reach out to me. And I did not reach out to her. We existed in our separate lives. Two people who used to be family but were now just strangers with shared history. Kept living. That was my rebellion. My triumph. I kept waking up every morning and choosing joy. Kept tending my garden. Kept taking my painting classes. Kept going to book club and laughing with friends and traveling when I wanted to. I turned 75. Then 76. Then 77. Each birthday felt like a victory. Another year I was alive. Another year I was free. Another year they did not win. Emma had a baby. A little girl with dark curls and bright eyes. She named her Claire. After Daniel's mother. My mother-in-law, who I had loved dearly. I held Claire when she was just 2 days old. This tiny perfect person who knew nothing about betrayal or disappointment or the ways families could break. She just knew warmth and milk and the sound of her mother's heartbeat. This is what matters, I whispered to her. This right here. Not money. Not houses. Not who gets what when someone dies. Just this. Just love. Emma smiled. You are going to spoil her. That is my job, I said. And I did. I spoiled Claire with my time and attention and presence. I babysat when Emma needed a break. I rocked her to sleep. I sang her the same songs I sang to Rebecca when she was a baby. Before everything got complicated. Claire called me Gigi. Great-grandma was too hard to say. So Gigi it was. And I loved it. Loved the sound of her little voice calling for me. Loved the way she reached for me with chubby hands. Loved that I got to be part of her life. I started writing things down. My story. What happened with Rebecca and Marcus. What I learned. What I wished I had known sooner. I wanted Claire to have it someday. When she was old enough to understand. When she needed to know that women in our family could be strong. I wrote late at night when the house was quiet. Wrote about the day I overheard them plotting. About the sick feeling in my stomach when I realized my own daughter saw me as an obstacle. About finding the courage to fight back even when I was terrified. But I also wrote about the good things. About Daniel and our life together. About the garden we planted. About the house we made into a home. About Emma and how she reminded me that not everything in this family was broken. About Claire and the hope she represented. I wrote about dignity. About how it is not something people give you. It is something you claim for yourself. About how I spent too many years being quiet and accommodating and small. About how I finally learned to take up space. One afternoon while I was working in the garden, Emma came by with Claire. The baby was almost 2 now. Walking and talking and full of opinions about everything. She loved the flowers. Loved picking the petals off the roses even though I told her not to. Emma sat on the porch steps watching her. Grandma, can I ask you something? Course. Do you ever regret it? Cutting mom off completely. Not trying to reconcile. I stopped digging and sat back on my heels. I thought about it carefully before answering. Sometimes I mourn what could have been. The relationship we never really had. But regret? Well, I do not regret protecting myself. I do not regret choosing dignity over obligation. Emma nodded. She reached out last week. Asked if she could meet Claire. And what did you say? Said no. Emma looked at me. Hope that is okay. You do not need my permission, baby. That is your decision to make. No. But I wanted you to know I support you. What you did. What you are still doing. You are not the villain in this story, Grandma. No matter what she tells people. I am not the hero either, I said. I am just a woman who got tired of being stolen from. That makes you a hero in my book. Claire ran over then covered in dirt and petals and joy. She climbed into my lap and showed me a rock she found. Her small hands pressed it into mine like it was treasure. Look, pretty rock. It is beautiful, sweetheart. Just beautiful. Emma took a picture of us. Me covered in garden dirt. Claire in my lap. Both of us smiling in the afternoon sun. Later she sent me the photo. I printed it and put it on my refrigerator. Next to the picture of Daniel. Next to the postcard from Italy. Next to all the evidence that my life was full and good and mine. Time kept moving the way it always does. Seasons changed. Years passed. I turned 80. My body was slower now. My knees hurt more. I needed a cane sometimes when I walked. But my mind was still sharp. My spirit still strong. Claire started kindergarten. Emma sent me pictures of her first day. Small backpack. Big smile. Ready to take on the world. I looked at that picture and thought about all the things I hoped for her. That she would never let anyone make her feel small. That she would know her worth. That she would fight for herself when she needed to. Kept writing. Kept adding to the story I would leave behind. I wanted it to be complete. To show the full picture. Not just the pain but the triumph. Not just what was taken but what I reclaimed. One day Margaret called me. She was retired now but we still kept in touch. Maven, I need to update your will. Make sure everything is current. I went to her office. We went through everything line by line. The house went to Emma. My savings would be split between Emma and Claire. A portion went to the garden club to maintain the community gardens. Another portion went to a women's shelter downtown. Nothing went to Rebecca. Not out of spite. But because she had already tried to take everything. I would not reward that with even a token inheritance. And if she contests it, I asked. Margaret smiled. I have built this document to withstand any challenge. You have been more than clear about your wishes. You have documented everything. Any judge would uphold this will. But there was one more thing. A letter I had written to be opened after my death. Instructions for my funeral. But also a message. Emma. Claire. To anyone who might doubt why I made the choices I made. In the letter I wrote about dignity. About the cost of silence. About learning too late that being loved did not mean being taken from. I wrote about Marcus and his smooth words. About Rebecca and her betrayal. About the day I stood up and said no more. But I also wrote about beauty. About the garden and the painting classes and the friends I made. About Emma's wedding and Claire's birth. About all the moments of joy I experienced once I was free. I ended the letter with this. I lived 73 years before I truly started living. Do not wait as long as I did. Do not let anyone convince you that being kind means being quiet. Do not let anyone steal your voice, your power, your life in the name of keeping peace. Stand up. Speak out. Choose yourself. You are worth it. You have always been worth it. And anyone who tells you otherwise is someone you do not need in your life. I sealed the letter. Gave it to Margaret. Felt a weight lift from my shoulders knowing that my story would not be rewritten after I was gone. That the truth would survive me. The next few years were peaceful. I had less energy but I used what I had wisely. Shorter walks but I still walked. Smaller garden beds but I still planted. Fewer paintings but I still painted. I was slowing down but I was not stopping. Emma visited regularly. sometimes with Claire, sometimes alone. We would sit on the porch and drink tea and talk about life. About her job at the library. About James and his promotion. About Claire and her endless questions about everything. One day Emma brought up something she had been thinking about. "Grandma, have you ever thought about what you would say to Mom if you saw her again?" I considered it. Probably nothing. There is nothing left to say. I said everything that mattered years ago. But if she apologized, really apologized, would that change anything? I do not know. Maybe. Maybe not. Some things break in ways that cannot be fixed. And that is sad. But it is also true. Emma was quiet for a moment. I used to think family meant forever. That no matter what happened you had to find a way to forgive and move on. Now I think family is who shows up. Who sees you. Who respects you. And that does not always mean blood. She reached over and squeezed my hand. "You showed me that. I am glad," I said. "Because that is the most important lesson I can teach you." Claire was 7 when I started having more health problems. Nothing dramatic. Just the slow accumulation of years. Higher blood pressure. Weaker lungs. Bones that ached in the cold. My doctor said I was doing well for 83 but that I needed to be careful. To rest more. To let people help me. I hated that. Hated needing help. But Emma was patient with me. She started coming over more. Bringing groceries. Helping with the garden. Not because she pitied me. But because she loved me. There was a difference. Marcus had disappeared completely. I heard through Emma that he moved out west somewhere. Nevada maybe. Or Arizona. Rebecca did not talk about him. They had been divorced for years now. She had built a new life in Florida. A small life by all accounts. Job. An apartment. No husband. Few friends. Emma said she seemed lonely. That when they talked on the phone Rebecca always sounded tired. Worn down. Like she was going through the motions but not really living. I felt sad about that. Not because I wanted to fix it. But because it was a waste. She was still young enough to start over. To build something real. But she was stuck in her bitterness. Stuck in her resentment. And that was a prison worse than any I could imagine. One fall afternoon Emma brought Claire over after school. Claire was drawing at my kitchen table. Working on a picture of our house. She was a good artist. Better than I ever was. Emma pulled me aside. "Mom called me this morning. She wants to come visit. To see Claire. To see me." Emma hesitated. "See you." I felt my chest tighten. "Why now?" She said she has been going to therapy. Working through things. She said she wants to apologize. To make amends. "And what do you want?" Emma sighed. "Part of me wants to give her a chance. She is my mother. But part of me is angry that it took her this long. That it took losing everything before she was willing to admit she was wrong. Those are both valid feelings," I said. "You do not have to choose right now. But what about you? Would you see her if she came?" I looked out the window at the garden. At the roses blooming one last time before winter. At the house Daniel and I built our life in. At everything I had fought to keep. "I do not know," I said honestly. "Maybe. But I would not do it for her. I would do it for me. Close the circle. To have the last word." Emma nodded. "I will think about it." A week later Emma called. "Mom is coming next month. Just for a weekend. She will stay in a hotel." I told her she could see Claire but only with me present. And I told her if she wants to see you she has to ask you herself. "That is fair," I said. Waited. Part of me expected Rebecca to call. To reach out. But she did not. And I realized she was still the same person. Still expecting other people to do the hard work. Still unable to be vulnerable enough to ask for what she wanted. The weekend came. Emma took Claire to meet Rebecca at a park. Neutral territory. They spent 2 hours together. When Emma came back she looked exhausted. "How did it go?" I asked. "It was strange. Mom tried too hard. Brought expensive gifts for Claire. Kept talking about how much she had changed. How therapy had helped her. But she did not really listen. She talked at us, not to us. And Claire was polite but distant. She does not know Mom. How could she? And 2 hours in a park cannot change that. Did Rebecca ask about me? Emma hesitated. The end. She asked if you would be willing to see her tomorrow. And what did you tell her? That I would ask you. That it was your choice. I thought about it all night. Turned it over and over in my mind like a stone I was trying to see from every angle. Part of me wanted to say no. To let her sit with the consequences of her actions. To protect the peace I had built. But another part of me was curious. I wanted to see if she had really changed. And I wanted her to see me. To see that I had not just survived her betrayal. I had thrived despite it. In the morning I called Emma. Tell her I will meet her. But not at my house. The coffee shop downtown. 1 hour. That is all. Emma sounded surprised. Are you sure, Grandma? I'm sure. The next day I dressed carefully. My good slacks. A soft blue sweater. My pearl earrings. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw a woman who had nothing left to prove. Who was meeting her daughter not out of obligation but out of choice. I arrived at the coffee shop first. Ordered tea. Sat at a table by the window. Waited. Rebecca walked in 10 minutes later. She looked older. Thinner. Her hair was shorter. More gray. She had lines around her eyes that had not been there before. She saw me and froze for just a second. Then she walked over. Rebecca. She sat down. Ordered coffee from the waitress. We sat in awkward silence until the drinks arrived. Thank you for agreeing to see me, Rebecca said finally. I know I do not deserve it. You do not, I agreed. She flinched but did not argue. I have been going to therapy. Working through a lot of things. And I realized. She stopped. Took a breath. I realized I hurt you. Badly. I was selfish and greedy and I justified it by telling myself I was thinking about the future. But really I was just thinking about myself. Waited. Said nothing. I'm sorry. Rebecca's voice cracked. I'm so sorry, Mom. For what I did. For what I tried to do. For not seeing you. For treating you like you did not matter. The words hung in the air between us. Words I had wanted to hear for years. And now that I had them I did not know what to feel. Why now, I asked. Why after all this time? 'Cause I lost everything. My marriage. My relationship with Emma. My self-respect. And I finally had to face what I had done. Who I had become. Rebecca looked at me with tears in her eyes. I do not expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know that I know I was wrong. I sipped my tea. Let the silence stretch. Then I spoke. You hurt me, Rebecca. More than I can put into words. You saw me as a burden. As an obstacle. As someone in your way. You tried to steal from me. And when I fought back you tried to have me declared incompetent. You almost destroyed me. No. But you did not destroy me. Took a breath. I am still here. I am still standing. And I have built a life that is good and full and mine. I have friends. Have purpose. I have Emma and Claire. I have everything that matters. Rebecca nodded. Can see that. You look happy. She wiped her eyes. I do not deserve your forgiveness. But I hope, maybe someday, we could have some kind of relationship again. Even if it is small. Even if it takes years. Thought about it. Really thought. And I realized something. I did not need to forgive her. Not completely. Not in the way she wanted. But I could let go of the anger. I could stop carrying the weight of her betrayal. I do not know what the future holds, Rebecca. But I will say this. I appreciate you apologizing. Believe you mean it. And maybe over time we can find something. Not what we had before. That is gone. But something new. Something honest. Rebecca nodded. That is more than I deserve. Yes, I said. It is. We finished our drinks. Talked a little about small things. About Claire and how smart she was. About Emma and how proud I was of her. About the garden and the painting classes. Surface things. Safe things. When we left, Rebecca asked if she could hug me. I hesitated. Then nodded. She wrapped her arms around me. Held on tight. Whispered I am sorry again into my shoulder. I hugged her back. Briefly. Then pulled away. Goodbye, Rebecca. Goodbye, Mom. I watched her walk to her car, watched her drive away. Then I went home to my house, my safe, beautiful house, and I felt lighter, not because I had forgiven everything, but because I had closed that chapter, put it to rest. Emma called that evening. How did it go? It went, I said. She apologized, accepted it. But I do not know what comes next. Maybe nothing. Maybe something small. We will see. I am proud of you, Grandma, for giving her a chance. I gave myself a chance. I corrected. Chance to let go. To stop carrying her mistakes. That night I sat on my porch with a blanket over my lap. The air was cool. Fall turning to winter. The stars were bright overhead. And I felt at peace. I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal. The fight. The victory. The years of building a new life. The relationships I had lost and the ones I had gained. And I realized something important. This story was not about money. It was never about money. It was about dignity. About refusing to be erased. About standing up and saying I matter. My life matters. My choices matter. That was the real inheritance I would leave behind. Not the house or the savings, but the example. The proof that it is never too late to fight for yourself. Choose yourself. Matter. I am 83 years old now. I do not know how many more years I have. Maybe 5. Maybe 10. Maybe just 1. But however many I get, I will live them on my own terms. I will keep planting roses. Keep painting terrible paintings. Keep spending time with Emma and Claire. Keep writing this story so that someday someone else will read it and know they are not alone. Because that is what I wish someone had told me years ago. When I was young and exhausted from working 2 jobs. When I was middle-aged and burying my husband. When I was old and being betrayed by my own daughter. I wish someone had told me. You are enough. You do not have to sacrifice yourself to be worthy of love. You do not have to be quiet to be good. You can stand up. You can fight back. You can choose yourself. And that is what I am telling you now. Whoever you are, whatever your age, whatever your situation, choose yourself. Do not wait until you are 73 like I did. Do not wait until everything is almost gone. Do not wait until you have been betrayed and stolen from and pushed to the edge. Start now. Say no when you need to. Say yes when you want to. Take up space. Use your voice. Know your worth. And if people call you difficult or selfish or ungrateful, let them. Their opinions do not define you. Your choices do. This is my story. The story of a woman who almost disappeared. Who almost let herself be erased. But who fought back. Who reclaimed her life. Who chose dignity over obligation. And I am still here. Still standing. Still mattering. My house stands solid around me. The garden blooms in spring. Emma and Claire visit regularly. My life is smaller than it once was, but it is completely mine. And that makes all the difference. If you have read this story or heard this story, I hope it has touched you. I hope it has shown you that it is never too late. That you are never too old. That you always have a choice. Choose yourself. Choose your dignity. Choose your peace. You deserve it. You have always deserved it. And anyone who tells you otherwise is someone you do not need in your life. This is my final message. My legacy. Not the money I saved or the house I kept. But this truth. This simple, powerful truth. You matter. Your life matters. Your choices matter. Do not ever let anyone convince you otherwise. Stand up. Speak out. Fight back. And live. Really, truly live. That is what I did. And I have never regretted it for a single moment. This is my story. And now it is yours. Take it. Learn from it. Use it. And then go write your own.